Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic old wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with my pup Geordie. All while we're fixing it up to do some pretty major cruising someday. If that's the sort of thing you might be interested in, please consider sticking around and subscribing. Okay, COVID-19. Whoa. Well, yes, it's suddenly a completely different world, isn't it? I should start off by saying I am very fortunate here in Victoria. Victoria has a few cases as of mid-March. It's March the 18th right now, and things are generally relatively normal, or they were up to about yesterday. Stores are getting pretty picked over, and most people's impressions of things is definitely starting to change fast. I'm in the process of preparing to self-isolate here at the marina, but also working on both boats, my boat MV Geordie, and those of you who are longtime viewers, my very good friend's boat MV Zephyrus, which is fully functional and capable of cruising. So if you read between the lines, we're gearing up to go cruising. If you're going to be in self-isolation, you might as well be enjoying yourself. So over the next couple of weeks, therefore a couple of episodes, we're going to be doing some work to MV Zephyrus to gear up for some more extensive cruising, and at the same time we're doing some work to her to prepare her for a haul out in June, perhaps. Let's see where the world is by then. Well folks, welcome to Real Time. This is Real Time. I reached out to the patrons and asked if they'd mind if I abandoned the early release system. And they unanimously said absolutely. So I'm recording this today, and you're seeing it today. The point is, maybe now as a community we can have a more real-time experience. More comments will be more relevant. The work I'm doing more relevant. It's enough thought. I also got silly and wrote a song. I don't know how it'll go. I'm gonna try it now. Oh jeez. You wanna go out, step out on the town, strut your stuff, can't get enough, lay your money down, but you won't. Shed a little tear, no you won't. Not even just one beer, 'cause we got self-isolation blue. I got the TV, got that Netflix too. Game of Thrones, I'm in the zone, gonna kick off all my shoes, but I won't. No black box for me, no I won't. 'Cause I live by the sea and I got self-isolation. Sense, get off the fence and flatten off the curb, yes you will. Or you're gonna make me cry, yes you will. Come on, give it a try, we all got self-isolation blues. Okay, that's all I can put you through. If you want to watch the whole thing, I'll put a link down below. I'll put a separate video up. There's a few more verses. Yeah. Let's get back to work. Okay, so here aboard MV Zephyrus, we have a little project that's going to make things, well, a little more sensible, safer, legal. That locker you see behind you is going to become a propane locker. It's not a propane locker now, no, but it's going to be. So that's what we're up to. Isn't it amazing? We were just working in this corner last week. Anyway, that's holding quite nicely, by the way. Anyway, so I'm going to take this locker apart. I'm going to arrange that I'm going to take out this panel so that we can build the propane locker under the side deck as much as possible, liberating as much space in the actual storage locker as possible. So the propane locker will only start about here and move under there as far as possible. And then I'm going to wrap this locker, lazarette, I don't know, a thwart, bench, around the propane locker so that it looks largely the same as it does now, except it'll probably be about 4 inches higher to accommodate the height of a propane locker and all the bits that go with it. So let's get on with it, shall we? All right then, so in here we have a couple of empty mock-up propane cylinders that I put in here just to sort of test the shape and the proportion of the future propane locker to be. So let's have a look here. This entire bench, so to speak, is actually just a few panels screwed to the teak sole of the cockpit. A lovely sole in here. Anyway, that's going to present some of the issues in this whole project, and we'll see how that develops. So this is all just held together with a number of Robertson screws. All right, easy peasy. So you can see the existing bench really wasn't much to it. It was just sitting on top of this lovely teak sole, and so it's really quite a bit very straightforward to simply just make the whole thing on another plinth, making it tall enough to be able to put actual full-size 20-pound propane cylinders in here, because my mock-ups for the test fit are only 10-pounders, quite short. To maximize the space of this, I think I mentioned I'm going to take out this panel here so that the propane locker can actually go right in against the hole underneath the deck there, because it's not very useful space, because this locker can reach around the corner, but it doesn't work out very well. So anyway, let me start taking the rest of this part. There we go. Well, I've certainly got lots of help for this project. Hey boys. Lovely weather, it's so tempting for them to be outside. I drew a line at 2 and decided just to use the magic gauge of the 1.5 inch of the saw. Okay, so it's all rotten here at the bottom. Glad to have this gone. Okay then folks, well this project's had a couple of false starts as we deal with some provisioning and trying to find materials with everything starting to close down here in Victoria. Anyway, I do have a sheet of plywood, so we're going to get building this. Because this is the only woodworking project in the next little while, I'm going to do this cutting outside because I don't want to turn my boat back into a shop just yet, because to tell you the truth, I'm not quite sure what's going to go on in the next weeks, months, but we're gonna have lots of fun stuff to do. We've got lots of materials for various projects, mostly Zephyrus. I may not yet have actually explained how I'm building this. You've seen me chop up this ply. This is 1/2 inch marine ply. It's actually really, really good stuff. And you might say, can you really make a propane locker out of plywood? Well, yes, you can. I checked with my surveyor and with the ABYC documents. And as long as it meets the criteria, which is basically a drain, we'll go on all of those things. But the basic structure is going to be marine ply, 1/2 inch marine ply, glued and screwed in all the edges, and then I'm going to soak the whole thing in CPES, clear penetrating epoxy sealant, and then I'm going to paint the whole thing with what I call topsides paint. It's the same paint that goes on the hull, which is bright sides or easy epoxy or whatever, a marine white paint. There's some more things we're going to do, but basically it's a wooden box, not much to it. That's kind of specialized the way it fits in. Anyway, let's get on with it. Okay, so as I said, it's going to be glued and screwed, but what I'm going to do to make this less miserably messy is I'm going to screw it first with just a minimum number of screws, and then I'm going to back the screws out enough that I can get glued down in here and then close it back up again, because trying to manage all this at once would really be a nightmare. So let's just start putting a few screws in here. And yes, I'm going to be using a screw gun shortly. Commentator All right, with the box basically assembled, you'll notice this side is a little bit lower, and that's because the top is going to be made up of two sections, a smaller section and a larger section. And the way it's going to work is the larger section is going to be the actual lid that's removed, and it'll have a lip all the way around the edge to make it watertight, because of course this is in a situation that isn't actually watertight. The other complication is though that this end of the locker sits underneath the deck, so when I put a propane cylinder in, it's got to go in and slide sideways. So this section is permanent, it's not removable. But to make sure I get a lip and therefore waterproof, this has to be able to drop down. It's going to drop down to there. So I just have to take a notch out of the front panel and the back panel here to just get it down to the point where this is in the right place. Just so you know what I'm up to. Dog wobbles a lot more than my boat, you know?
Oh yeah!
It's amazing! In there, I don't have like this wiggliness issue. So now this should fit right there, like that. Very, very nice. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a small lip, but not in plywood. Making a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch piece of plywood is kind of gnarly. So I'm just going to use a little bit of mahogany in there to create the lip, as I am going to make the lip around the top, the lid that will come down around the edge. But we now have enough pieces together, with the exception of the bottom, to start to glue this up. So, no, I think I'm actually going to screw it all together once, just in case there's some kind of disaster. Okay, so and now the little lip piece here. Should we go see if it fits? And here we go. It'll go right in there like that. That's the plan anyway. And so when the bench is put back around it, we'll have this much storage in the bench for things like fenders or whatever we want to put in there, and the 2 propane cylinders will go in here. Obviously, we'll have to slide one in and over and the other one straight down. Now, another key test, of course, before I get too far along with this, is that 2 propane cylinders will actually fit inside. So let's roll that one in like that, and this one will come in slightly diagonal like that. There's actually a little gap because I'm going to arrange it so that I can have little bits of foam that I can jam down in around them. And the reason I offset it a bit is because I need a little extra room right here to put the regulator and the valve, which are going to sit in this space here, and they have to be there but far enough over that I can lift this cylinder in and out easily. Okay, so now with crucial testing concluded, it's time to arrange for the lid. And basically this is the only part that will open. It'll have a handle on it, and you can see it overhangs a bit because I'm going to put a lip, as I mentioned, on the inside of it, probably, in fact certainly made out of 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch mahogany, as well as a lipping here to conclude the rest of the opening lip. And again, I have to make this waterproof because the bench, lazarette, hatch, whatever it is that it's sitting in is not waterproof, and there's some other issues about that, and we'll get into that later. So now I gotta make up some little bits of 1/2 inch mahogany. I have some, I'm sure I have. Okay, have a nice piece of 1 inch mahogany that we can work with. This is gonna be perfect. Unbelievably wonderful weather it is. This whole COVID thing, at least we have amazing weather. Okay, so now I'm going to rip this one in length halfways. Of course, I'm not going to get quite 1/2 inch because of the kerf, so I've reset the saw to take that into account. All right. One, two, three, 4 little edges. Yeah, you know what I mean. Now it seems natural that you would screw these hardwood pieces to this plywood, through the plywood and into the hardwood, but getting it all to line up with it underneath the work I'm doing would have been quite annoying. Plus, I'm going to try and fill all these with filler at some point, and it's a lot tighter to do them underneath the lip than underneath. Remember, these are going to be glued. There's no way these are coming off. Okay, lid's made. Lid's not made, lid's mocked up so that I can make sure everything fits before I glue it. Let's put this little piece on. So does the lid fit? I haven't checked yet. It does. All right, so now for the part I am definitely not looking forward to, the glue up. But because I've already assembled it all, I'm going to take some of it apart. Obviously, the side joints I can just loosen, get some glue in there and close it again. But the top and the bottom obviously have to come off completely so that it can move. So I need to make some marks. So basically I'm just going to make a mark here and a mark there, so I know that that can't possibly go in the wrong place. Likewise here, a single mark on this side and a double mark on this side. I'm going to put a single, a double, a triple, and a quadruple. If I mess it up now. Yep. Okay, so now you can see I have these nice voids that I can easily put the glue in. Now, glue. Well, most of you, certainly in the boating community, are going to insist that there's only one type of adhesive for this project, and that would be thickened epoxy. Sorry, Mads, I'm not using thickened epoxy. I'm actually using PL construction adhesive. Yes, indeed, it's a urethane-based, thick, gooey, very sticky, very waterproof, dries with moisture. The new version, this 8X stuff with the fibers in it, this stuff is unbelievable. It's amazing. And in one step, it's bonding and a fillet and one part. I'm not saying it's easy to clean up, but it's easier than epoxy, and it's cheap. Now, I'm perfectly prepared for those of you who are going to explain to me why this is a very bad choice to use for this, and I'll certainly listen and learn for the future, but by then I'll have made it. Okay, I'm going to start with the lid, which takes the tiniest little bead. So I'm going to make the tiniest little cutoff in the tube, and which I then will enlarge for other sorts of stuff. This caulking gun I'm using, made in England. And it's they're very common on the east coast of this country, but I can't seem to find one equivalent on this coast. They all seem to be those cheapy stamped steel ones that you get in the big box stores. So I don't know, am I just missing? I like these guns. Okay, so this could be really easy or really miserable. You've heard me say things like that before. Let's see how this goes. Okay. I'm going to put a little fillet on the inside. And I'm going to tool that with my finger. So let's see if I can fill this up just as I want. Very nice. Very nice. And there we go. Beautiful. All right, from here it gets a little bit easier. Okay, now a bunch more holes. All right, and the top. but not least, this piece. All right, and now for the most fun part of all the filleting. Ugh. So we'll start inside. I don't know why I'm showing you this because you can't see any of it. Maybe you'll be able to see the look of anguish on my face as it starts to get really messy. Yeah. Ugh, anguish. Across the top in there. Up there. Yeah. Ugh. Now I'm making the fillets on the floor, on the bottom, quite a bit smaller, and I'll tell you why later. Super nice! And it's that perfect time of day. That's it for today, folks. 3, 2, 1. Hello! Go, you go!
No.
Come on, what are you doing?
Hello, and welcome back to Beer of the Week.
Right?
This week,
we
have Heather Ale.
Heather Ale from where? Where did we get Heather Ale from, Kate?
Salt Spring. Is that what it's called? Salt Spring Brewery?
Salt Spring Island Ale Brewery. Anyway, Heather Ale.
Heather
never
Ale.
had it. Never had it. You looked it up. What is a Heather Ale?
So Heather Ale uses heather flowers instead of hops. But this one actually uses heather flowers and a sparing amount of hops.
A sparing amount of hops. Okay, well, we'll see what Heather Ale from Salt Spring.
Exactly.
This is the first beer of the week on the new upholstery. We're quite excited about it. I'm not sure you can see it in the current shot, but if we handled the timing right, you may have just seen it in a previous shot. Anyway, so here we go.
Kind of ambery.
Kind of ambery. Well, this is also a sad occasion for me because Caitlin flies home tomorrow.
It's true.
And it's the end of our fabulous week together. So first, cheers to your fantastic visit.
Yes,
So glad to have had you here.
I like it.
I was just going to say drinkable, which I guess means I like it.
Exactly.
Right, drop it. Oh well.
Yeah, no.
It's an ale.
Yeah.
It's not hoppy.
But it wasn't. It doesn't claim to be
I
hoppy.
know, exactly. That's
Yeah,
no,
heathery.
It's a lovely color. It's heathery is what it is.
I think it's quite drinkable.
I think it's quite drinkable.
Yeah.
Actually, we had another beer earlier that we thought we might use, which was almost.
Mango banana flavor
Yeah,
usually
no,
doesn't go very
wasn't
well.
a really good idea. It wasn't good. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
delicious.
say that's a hit then, will we?
Yes.
Fantastic. And we do have to thank Brian Patterson. Thank you so much for your support through PayPal. Very, very grateful for that. And as always, thanks to all the people who've supported the channel. I'm so grateful because I couldn't possibly do this without you. So we need a word of the week to give away a t-shirt. Have you thought of one?
No, too much pressure.
We're going to stall. You know what? Actually, we have one more thing we have to do before that. Sorry, I have to thank whoever sent me this fabulous sea strainer. At the time that I was trying to get the engine running, I put this on the Amazon wish list, and some very kind individual said, he's going to need that. Let me send that off to him. And it may seem a little sad now that I'm not going to be working on the engine for a little bit, but spoiler alert, I will be working on an engine sooner than you might think. So I'm still very, very grateful for this, but I do not know who sent it because it didn't come with any identification. So if you sent me the sea strainer, please let me know so I can thank you properly.
And he's been raving about it.
I have been raving. I take it apart. I'm so excited about it. In that period of time, were you able to think of a word of the week?
No.
Okay, so what we're gonna do? Probably we're gonna cut. We're gonna cut, right?
We're
Okay.
gonna cut.
So like, let's all sit as if it's a clean cut, right? No jump cut. Exactly here, right?
Wow.
There we go. You didn't notice that, I'm sure. We've come up with a word of the week because we are so
comfortable
sitting here on the dinette. So if you'd
leave the word comfortable in a comment down below,
right?
Then Dad will send you a shirt. He'll pick a random comment and send you a shirt.
Excellent. That's what we'll do. Cheers. See you next week.
See you next week.
I'm very
I'm getting good at this.